Glyphosate is the declared active chemical ingredient in Roundup. It was originally found to be a pipe cleaner. It's an endocrine disruptor. It's a chelator. That's how it cleans out pipes. It makes the vital nutrients unavailable to any living thing it touches. So it's a chelator, it's an endocrine disruptor, it's a carcinogen, it causes liver and kidney damage and disease. It's causes neurological damage and nervous system damage. It is highly harmful to human health. Dr. Don Huber, who's a 60-year plant pathologist, says it is going to make DDT look like mouthwash, and it essentially gives a plant AIDS. When it kills it, the way it acts as a weed killer, it essentially gives it an autoimmune disease, and then the normally harmless bacteria in the soil kills it. So that's how, and just think about the normally harmless bacteria, viruses, mold, parasites like Lyme disease. That's what's killing Americans today. Glyphosate as a chelator reduces the nutrient uptake into the root of the plant by 20 to 85%, and then into the shoot of the plant, which is what we eat, by 80 to 95%. And the minerals are magnesium, zinc, and iron, which are essential for the immune system. So it essentially does not have the nutrients that we need, that a plant needs, that livestock need to have a strong immune system. And this is with drift level only. This is only drift level exposure. So essentially our farmers in America, even if they're only being exposed to a drift level of glyphosate, are growing nutrient deficient junk food. So this is why America's sick. Never mind the toxic side of glyphosate and atrazine and 2,4-D and paraquat and all these other chemicals. The fact that we don't have the nutrients in our food, it's like less than 5 or 10% of the nutrients that we need, is what's making us sick again.
Explain how the glyphosate, because are the farmers using this, Roundup
yes.
on their farms?
Farmers are using it. Yep, to the tune of 280 million pounds a year. They're spraying it directly on GMO crops like corn and soy and sugar beets, and that then the crop will live because it's genetically engineered to withstand it, but all the weeds will die. And then they also use it as a drying agent on wheat, peas, beans, legumes like mung beans, oats, barley. They spray it all over the wheat crop or all these other grains just before harvest to dry it out all uniformly so they can harvest it faster. And the problem with that is that the residues stay on the crop and we consume those residues. Ugh. And we're not Roundup ready, right? Like the crops, right. GMO crops are Roundup ready, but we're not Roundup ready. And then these non-GMO crops like wheat and peas and beans and legumes, they're just conventional crops. They don't do this on organic, by the way. But the conventional crops will have these glyphosate residues. And that's the problem. Those glyphosate residues get into the livestock, the animal grains, and the animals that have their animal parts are in vaccines like bovine serum, chicken serum, gelatin from pig tendons that needs to be used as a stabilizing agent in the vaccine. Those parts are going to contain glyphosate because it soaks right in. It goes into the bloodstream and into the animal body. So these vaccines are showing up, every single one of them was positive for glyphosate because they all had animal parts in them. And the one that had 25 times higher the amount of glyphosate was the MMR vaccine, which is the one that Andy Wakefield has been vilified for saying that it destroys the gut microbiome. Now, he's totally correct in this, and our testing showed this, and it's actually confirmed by Monsanto's own lead toxicologist, Donna Farmer. She said, when asked, do you test the final formulation of Roundup, right? Like how it sits on the shelf in the hardware store or how it's used on the farm. And she said, no, because the rats have very delicate stomach linings and the Roundup would, tear up their stomach linings and they would die and we can't do studies on animals that die. So we only tested glyphosate, which is the one ingredient, in it. And the only way in which the glyphosate showed harm was when glyphosate was injected. And we all know glyphosate's not injected. No, we do know now that glyphosate is being injected into our children to the tune of 79 doses by the age of 18. And this is extremely harmful. Also, a second scientist tested 14 vaccines, 12 of them were positive, and his MMR vaccine was 34 times higher with the amount of glyphosate. So we gave this information to the CDC and the FDA 9 years ago. Nothing was done about it. In fact, I did a Freedom of Information Act a year later, and they came back and gave me documents that were 70% redacted, completely blacked out.
Right.
So this administration is finally looking at it, and I think what they're going to find is that glyphosate, it's not only terrible that it's in there, but it's a chelator, so it grabs onto the aluminum that's in there in the vaccines or in other vaccines because they're given multiple shots at once, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It grabs the aluminum and brings it up into the brain and deposits it in certain parts of the brain, and that's what Dr. Christopher Exley says is causing autism and Alzheimer's.
Is the aluminum in the brain? Like somehow we're getting aluminum into our brains.
Yeah, but I would say it's in conjunction with glyphosate because that's the thing that's transporting it.